So got another exercise for you today, finger workout if you will, with my brand new haircut. It's a pentatonic-y thing, lots of hammer-ons and pull-offs, so let's get started. What I've got is in A minor pentatonic. We're moving up the neck though. So our first position, which sounds like this, is in your standard A minor pentatonic shape. So this, just think like that. What we've got to start with, our setup is quite important. So what I'm doing is I'm using my pointer finger to bar the 5th frets of the B and the E strings. Now we do this a lot. I know even in one of my other videos I've had a similar situation, so yeah. But what I'm also doing, little trick, is while I'm barring the 5th fret with my pointer finger, I'm getting the end of my pointer finger, the part I'd usually play the string with, to touch the G string. So the G string sounds like this. So we're not getting much sound out of the G string. So when I hammer on to the G string, I don't get any of that noise up there, which is always very irritating and annoying, okay? So we're in our first position, and what we're going to do to start with is we're going to pick the 5th fret of the B string, and after that we're going to hammer on with our ring finger to the 8th fret of the B string, so like this. Alright, and from there we're going to pull off to the 5th fret of the B string. Alright, and then from there, middle finger hammers on to the 7th fret of the G string. Okay, so that's our first little chunk. 5, 8, 5, 7 of the G. Yep. Now our second chunk is a little bit different. What we're doing in the second chunk is... Okay, so what that was the 5th fret of the B string. We're going to pick where our pointer finger is, and then hammer on to the 8th fret of that B string, just like we did before. Alright, but from here what we're going to do is we're going to pick the high E string, where we're holding down, remember, the 5th fret of that string. So far we've done this in the second chunk. Alright, and from now on it's all hammer-ons. So we've gotten to here, and what we have to do from here is hammer on to the 8th fret of the B string with our ring finger, and then pull off to the 5th fret of the B string. Okay, so far we've got this. And to finish it all off, we're going to hammer on with our middle finger to the 7th fret of the G string. So we end up with this. Okay, so our first chunk was this, and our second chunk was this. Alright, so what I'm doing, I'm playing the first chunk once and the second chunk twice, okay? So I'm going to yell some things into the camera while I play it slowly. So the first chunk, second chunk, second chunk. It's very hard to talk and do that, alright? So the first chunk, second chunk, and second chunk again. Okay, so if you label the parts 1 and 2, it's 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, okay? And just like I said, you've got to repeat that whole thing twice. So it ends up being 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. So repeat that 1, 2, 2 pattern twice. Lots of numbers for you, okay? So that's basically the whole entire pattern of this exercise. We're just shifting which position of the pentatonic scale, or which shape we're using with our fingers, okay? So that was our first one. Our second one, I like to think of this shape as the end of the slidey pentatonic. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're using our pointer finger to bar the B and E strings again. We're going to bar them on the 8th fret, and again I'm using the end of my pointer finger to stop the G string making annoying noises, okay? So it's like a triple whammy, this finger. So what we're doing here is exactly the same pattern as we had before. Well, exactly the same of the 2 patterns we had before. So what I'm doing is I'm picking the 8th fret of the B string and hammering onto the 10th fret of the B string. After that, I'm going to hammer on with my middle finger to the 9th fret of the G string, okay? So my first chunk in this position is this. Okay? And my second chunk, as you may have guessed, is I'm going to pick the 8th fret of the B string, hammer onto 10, and then go and pick the 8th fret of the the E string. So I've got this so far. And then to finish this second chunk off, we've got, that's a hammer back onto the 10th fret of the B string, pull off to the 8th fret, and to finish it off with your middle finger, hammer onto the 9th fret of the G string. Okay, so our first chunk is this, slowly, and then our second chunk is this. Okay, so exactly the same pattern as we had in the first shape. All we've done is transposed it to our second pentatonic shape. Okay, so again we're going to go for the pattern 1 2 2 1 2 2. So slowly it sounds like this. Okay, that's our second chunk. Our third chunk is up here. It's exactly the same shape as the first chunk. Yay! Okay, so we've got our fingers, our first finger, barred on the 10th fret of the B and E strings, again cancelling the G string, so we're getting that kind of sound. And we're going to go as per the first shape, okay, so this one. Exactly the same shape, just transposed up the neck. Okay, so to give you an idea, I'm on the 8th fret of the B string to start with, sorry, the 10th fret of the B string to start with. Hammer onto the 13th fret, pull back off to the 10th fret, and hammer onto the 12th fret of the G string for our first chunk. Our second chunk is going to be 10 of the B string, hammer onto the 13th, 10th of the high E string, hammer onto the 13th fret of the B, pull off to the 10th fret of the B, and finally hammer on to the 12th fret of the G string. So exactly the same as the first shape. Okay, and what I've done from there is gone to finish this thing off into a different pattern. I've gone straight into... Okay, so we're just going to take a look at that. What I've got here is I'm keeping my exactly the same shape we had for the third chunk. So my pointer finger barred on the 10th frets of the B and E. And what I'm doing is picking the high E string, hammering onto the 13th fret of the B string, pulling off to the 10th, and then hammering on to the 12th fret of the G. So just this. And we want to have 4 of them, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's a classic kind of rock situation. See it all the time, okay? And to finish it off, we have one tiny more section. Okay, so what that was is exactly what we had before, so 10 of the high E, 13 of the B, 10 of the B, 12th fret of the G. But afterwards, I'm going to the 10th fret of the B string, picking that, hammering onto the 13th fret, and then picking the 10th fret again. So my last chunk is this. Okay, so let's look at the whole ending section together. So from 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what I've got. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 ending. Well, I hope that makes sense. So just a quick note about the layout of the whole thing. Just to recap really. So what we've got down here is 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. Our next section, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. Our final section, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. And then we've got our ending, which is like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, ending. Alright, I hope you guys have fun with that one. It's a great one because it's rhythm something like this. So you really got to put heavy emphasis on the notes that you do pick. And it should sound great. Right, so have fun with that one. Thanks.